Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm JP Tong, and welcome to today's episode of Detox Your Mind. Today, as you all know, I'll be talking about this personality trait known as narcissism. I've always read about this character, narcissist, when I was studying Western mythology in school. Quite understood in greater depth what it means when you say that a person is narcissistic. Yeah, all I knew back then was that the person is very self-centered and loves himself or herself very, very much, until it's become an obsession. So that was the gist of what I understood in my earlier years. But a few years ago, my teacher, His Eminence Tem Rinpoche, spoke about this personality trait. And to me, it was very fascinating because I didn't quite understand what it entailed, and if someone is narcissistic, what does that actually mean? So today I'd like to talk about it because why? My intention is this. I would like for people to realize that there are that there are many people out there who have different spectrums of narcissism in them. And when you understand what it's all about, you will also be able to understand what it takes to manage relationships with these kind of people. All right. And for some of you who may even realize that you have these narcissistic traits, something for you to also understand about yourself and to see if there's anything you want to do about it. All right. So what is narcissism? Okay, there are a few scenarios, but usually it's about these things. Okay, now there are these 4 pillars in narcissism that makes a person narcissistic in general. Okay, then after that, I'll talk about the 4 different types of narcissism that we know of. Now, I like to make reference to Dr. Ramani Durvasula. She is at the forefront of the study of narcissism. She is a clinical psychologist, and she specializes in this because she said that she realized that in LA, because she's based there, that many people are narcissistic, and she explained why. All right, so what are the 4 pillars? And I'll talk about it later. So what are the 4 pillars of narcissism? All right, so a person who is narcissistic will lack of empathy. Okay, they lack empathy, and they have a sense of grandiosity, which means that they feel that they're above everyone. They're above everyone, and so it's a feeling that they are grandiose. All right. And also they have a chronic sense of entitlement. They're entitled to this. So, and if you don't provide for them, or if they don't get what they want, that's where they get into a reaction. All right, and it's full of rage usually. And the 4th pillar is that they always seek validation from other people, and they also look for admiration from other people. All right, so these are the 4 pillars. So again, I'll repeat, they lack empathy, they have a sense of grandiosity, they have a chronic sense of entitlement, and they always seek for validation and admiration from people around them. Okay, so these are the 4 the 4 traits of a narcissistic person. So if you have any of these 4, it's confirmed that you have a narcissistic trait, that you're actually narcissistic. Okay, and why do people become narcissistic? All right, so some of you may be wondering, are you born narcissistic, or did you actually grow up becoming narcissistic? Actually, you grow up being narcissistic. Okay, narcissistic people are highly insecure. All right, they are highly insecure, and hence all this rage, all this false sense of greatness, the grandiosity that they come up with, and this sense of entitlement, that that this is owed to them. The whole world owes them whatever it is that that they want. So what happens is that when a person grows up in an environment, there are a few scenarios how a person can be narcissistic. So for those of you who, for those of you who have children, you have to be very careful here, all right? So when a child grows up in an environment whereby narcissism is in the household, all right, they think it's normal. Okay, so maybe they see the parent feeling very entitled when they go to a place. They don't want to wait. They want to be seated. For example, if they go to a restaurant, and if there's a long line there, they make a huge fuss because they feel that that they are greater than all this. Why should they be waiting? So they make a huge fuss and they throw a huge tantrum. So and they see this. Or if they see the father manipulating the mother, and if the mother doesn't give in, then he will become abusive, and throw a huge rage. Okay, so when children grow up in that kind of environment where one of the parents is narcissistic, they think it's normal. So that becomes their comfort zone. Okay, that becomes their reality, which is what I always say. That becomes a reality. So they grow up thinking that, okay, so if mom or dad does that, then it's normal for them to do the same. All right? So that is one scenario of how a child can become narcissistic. So again, be mindful of how you behave in front of your children. Okay? And also, a big part of why children become narcissistic as they grow older is because of how we guide them. Okay, so if we focus on external achievements, success, all right, such as, oh, you have straight A's, oh, you are the you play soccer very well, you swim very well, you have huge parties or acknowledgement when they win the gold medal in the sports day, and so it's all about external success and achievement. And if you over glorify that, and you don't give them enough emotional needs, because children have emotional needs as well. When they tell you that they're under a lot of pressure, when they feel tired, they don't feel like doing this, and you just, sweep it under the rug, and you do not spend enough time attending to the emotional needs. When there is that lack of balance, okay, of overindulging in the external achievements and success, and not addressing as much into their emotional needs, they will grow up. They will grow up being narcissistic because it's all about me, what I want, and they will equate that to being normal, Okay, so there's an imbalance, and and they will grow up as such. Okay, and that is why, because we don't support the emotional needs, then they never develop the empathy side of them, the empathetic side of them, and that's very foreign to them. Okay, and according to Dr. Ramani, she noticed that the majority of her patients who have these narcissistic traits are 80% male and 20% female. But she also noticed that recently there's been an increase of female patients who have narcissistic traits. All right, and she said that it's because, well, generally, boys are not to have feelings. So when the boys, when the kid falls or cries or is upset, they're encouraged not to express their emotions. They're encouraged to be tough and to ignore the emotions. All right. Whereas if it's a daughter, then it's always encouraged to tap into the emotional side. So again, that is why that's also one of the huge reasons, according to her, that men actually grow up losing that side of that empathetic side of them because of how they were trained when they were growing up. Okay, I hope it makes sense. And if you have any questions as I'm talking, please ask on the comment section. Okay, because narcissism, when you understand these various personality traits, it will help you understand the person whom you're dealing with. It can be a parent, it can be your spouse or somebody whom you're having an intimate relationship with. It can be your sibling, it can be your boss, it can be your colleague. They are all over the place. They're all over the place. And sometimes you wonder what's wrong with them. Okay, and you cannot quite put your finger on it. Okay, so I hope that after today's session, you have a much better understanding about narcissistic traits, and because you can start to identify them, then you will know how to manage your expectations. All right, so moving along, what are the 4 common types of narcissism? Okay, the first type of narcissism that is very obvious is called the overt narcissism. It's called overt narcissism. All right, overt narcissism are people who are just outright self-centered. When they come into a room, the attention is on them. Okay, they have a loud entrance. They're extremely outgoing, arrogant, and again, they feel that they are very entitled, and they can be overbearing, and they have an exaggerated self-image. All right, and they need to be praised and admired all the time. And again, they lack empathy. So they are outright self-centered and arrogant and just full of themselves, really full of themselves. Okay. What else? Okay, so that's the typical narcissistic person that you will be able to identify when you are with them. Okay, it's all about them, and they only talk about them. And when you talk about yourself, it always goes back to them. Okay, and they always present themselves larger than life. All right, I'm not sure if you met the people like this. Okay, we have a question here. Hi, Sharon. I think many parents are guilty of overcompensating, as parents these days work long hours. Example, compensating by buying expensive gifts, not disciplining when needed. Do you think this overcompensating contributes to narcissism? It does. You see, again, we have to be there is a fine balance, Sharon, because narcissism is also when we focus more on their needs, on their immediate self-gratification, there is a high chance that they will become narcissistic, provided that you do not address their emotional needs as well. Because to be self-centered doesn't mean you are narcissistic. Okay, because narcissistic, if you're a narcissist, you must have that 4 characteristics which I spoke about, which is lacking of empathy, a sense of grandiosity, a chronic sense of entitlement, and always seeking for validation from others. You must have these 4 in order to be confirm that you are a narcissist. All right. So yeah. So when you are parenting, again, there must be a balance where there is a delayed gratification. There's a delayed gratification. If you do this, you have to earn. You have to earn your way to be rewarded. You have to earn it because in the real world, all right, when they graduate, when they get their own jobs, they will realize that it's really tough out there. It's really tough. And no matter how much you do, you think you are the best. There's somebody else out there who's going to be a lot better than you. Okay? And you may expect that, okay, I have put in my heart and soul to this job and my expectation is to be rewarded because why? Because mom and dad always rewarded me whenever I have straight A's. So there's a culture of them growing up with an expectation that if you do this, you'll be rewarded. If you do this, you'll be rewarded. Now, Sharon, you and I have lived long enough to realize that that's not always the case, right? So you may think you do your best, but your boss may think you can do better, or no, that's not good enough. So again, it's about training the children. How are you training the children to in a conducive way and making them realize that, that you need to toughen up, that you need to build the resilience so that with these kind of a mental resilience, you will be ready for the real world out there. So as parents, we have to really juggle, okay, because different children have different mindsets. You have to juggle, but most importantly is to address their emotional needs. Okay, they may not be able to express it, but we have to be mindful about it. Some of them may not want to talk about it, but be mindful about it and slowly encourage them to tap into their emotions and to learn to express them. Okay, and also to show them that in life you don't get rewarded all the time when you do something. All right, so that's in a nutshell. Okay, I hope that helps, Sharon. Okay, so that's the overt narcissistic trait. And also, people who are overtly narcissistic always overestimate their ability and their intelligence. IQ and EQ, okay? So they always overestimate themselves, all right? Now, there is a second type of narcissism. It's called covert narcissism. Covert narcissism, a lot of people think that covert narcissism is something that, that you're a closeted narcissist. That's not what it actually means. It doesn't mean that you're a hidden narcissistic, that people do not know about it. It's not that. Covert means that you are more passive-aggressive about your self-centeredness. Okay? And what it means is this. Again, you have all these four traits whereby you feel a sense of entitlement, you lack empathy, you feel that you're above everyone, you have this feeling of greatness about yourself, you're better than everyone, and you also seek validation from others. But the only thing is because a covert narcissist is passive, so you may think that this type of person lacks self-esteem, is depressed. Because why? Because they always have that poor me, victimized energy. Oh, the chances they'll always say this. Oh, the conditions were not right. That's why I failed. Oh, what else? Oh, if I had the money to go to Harvard, maybe I would be more successful in my life, for example. So it's always how would I say? It's always blaming on situations and conditions, and that's why they are where they are. Okay, so they don't take responsibility. All right, so they hide behind this lack of taking responsibility, and they always say, "Oh, it's life is like that. So I'm just not in the right place at the right time, and hence. But if I was given the opportunity, you see what I'm going to do with my life. You just watch." So that kind of a conversation, all right, and they always give this impression that they don't have the confidence. They're always unhappy, and they're not overtly arrogant or confrontational, right? They have this quiet rage in them, and they're always very quiet. And you don't think that that they have this narcissistic trait because they're so quiet, and you just think, oh, poor thing. Oh, and a lot of people tend to fall into this trap or into this facade and thinking that this person is suffering from depression or some sort of a downturn in their life, and they just need some cheering up. You have to be careful, because the difference is that at the end of all that, of that poor me, or conditions are not right for me, they actually feel they are better than everyone. It's just that circumstances are not in their favor. That's why they cannot fulfill their destiny. Okay, I'm not sure if you have met people like that. So it's a very, very fine line there. Okay, and they will also experience anxiety, depression, shame. They're always very emotional about these things, and they're very defensive. And you have to be careful, because they seek validation from others. So when you say anything that remotes that to them, although you're trying to say, okay, perhaps it's better if you maybe take up a course on this, or maybe you could have done this better. No matter how constructive you are going to make yourself sound, they are going to take it as an attack, that they're not good enough. You see, you have to realize this. Narcissists are highly, highly insecure. Highly. So anything that suggests that they are lack of, that they can be better. So no matter what words you try to say, it's just that you try to be tactful, they will read it as you are attacking them. Okay, and they will react in a very, very negative way. Okay, so again, it's not your fault. It's just that they are highly, highly sensitive. They're overly hypersensitive to anything that will tell them that that they're not good enough. Okay, so again, it's not your fault. It's just that's how they operate. Okay, so that's the covert narcissism. So what they do is they see, all narcissists are highly, highly manipulative. You have to realize that they are very good with manipulating you. All right. So for a covert narcissist, they manipulate you through playing the victim card. The victim card. That's how they do it. Oh, poor me. It's always poor me, poor me. So they use the poor me to get you to manipulate you to do things for them, whatever it is. All right. So moving along. Now, there is the third type of narcissism is called communal narcissism. What is communal narcissism? It is a type of overt narcissism, and again, there is a fine line, because you will notice that communal narcissists are people who want to look great. So usually they will go into helping charity. They'll help others. They will do things that will make a difference in the community. That's why it's called communal narcissism. And if you're not careful, you'll say, oh, wow, how wonderful, how great. Now, all that is great, but how do you know whether or not they are under this communal narcissistic, this communal narcissism? Because They want to be validated in a huge way. You have, when they come, there's a red carpet. They are the VVVVVIP. They want all the attention. They want all the attention. It's on them, telling them what a wonderful job they have done for the community. And if you don't do that, they will be offended. You are not respecting them. They'll throw a huge tantrum because they will accuse you of not respecting them. You're not giving them the respect that befits them because of all the huge difference they have made in the community. Okay? So that's one part of communal narcissism. And also, for those who do work in a spiritual community, they will feel that they are the police. Okay, they will go around criticizing people for not falling in line with the spiritual doctrine. And they are very good and extremely critical with others. But when it comes to themselves, it's a totally different story. Because why? All these rules, all these spiritual conduct or practices, whatever that they instill on others, and they police everyone, okay, for not falling in line. It doesn't apply to them because they feel a sense of grandiosity, so they're above it. So, and that's how they are. Okay, so again, so if you notice that there are people like that, then when you look at them and you go, So again, they feel entitled, that they need all the respect and all the attention. That all the respect. Then they want all the validation through by giving them all the acknowledgement. They want as much acknowledgement as you can give them. All right. And what else? And they feel that it's all about them. And they may pretend that they're empathetic, but actually they're not, because they don't really care how you feel. What they are most focused is on how they feel. Okay? It's on how they feel. So that's communal narcissism. Okay? And the last one is called malignant narcissism. Malignant. Now, malignant narcissism is the most severe type of narcissism, because in addition to what you've just heard from the overt narcissism, malignant narcissism are more abusive. They're extremely arrogant. So they're the extreme side of narcissism. They're extremely vindictive, and they're all out to win at any expense. There is a fine line between malignant narcissism and people who are psychopathic. There is a fine line, okay? And because although outwardly they may look similar, they may look same, but the difference between a malignant narcissist and a psychopath is that a psychopath does not have any feelings of stress, anxiety. Even if they kill somebody, they would not bat an eye. They're as cool as a cucumber. They're very composed. They're very resilient to any sort of stress. And that's why they make very successful politicians, highly successful businessmen. What is this? Cotland said Adolf Hitler. Yes, Adolf Hitler, right? So they have no sense of remorse, nothing. They don't have any empathy at all. They don't have any consciousness at all, nothing. They are great assassins. They are great warriors, generals in the army. They're great for those jobs, okay? And that is why a lot of highly successful people, businessmen, are narcissistic, because they don't care how you feel as long as they get what they want, and who cares? All right? So you have to be very careful. So that is that fine line, because a malignant narcissist struggles with stress, and that's why they're in a rage. Okay, if you do not give them that validation, if you criticize them in whatever ways, they will blow up. Okay, so they blow up. But for a psychopath, no matter what you say, they're very cool and very composed. So it gives you, so psychopaths will give you that creepy feeling because they're just too composed for any normal person. So a malignant narcissist may look aggressive, physically abusive, verbally abusive, all that of a psychopath, but they are highly insecure and they don't know how to deal with stress, not like a psychopath. Okay, and that is that difference. And malignant narcissists are highly exploitative. They exploit you. They focus on power, profit, and pleasure at your expense. So they are ruthless when it comes to getting what they want, and that's why they're successful in the business world. All right. And they are very mean. They're very, very mean, extremely deceitful. Some will even steal money from the company, from their family members, and a lot of times they even cheat on their partners. Okay? And they are also prone to, see, people like that are prone to drug abuse, gambling, and for some, chronic shopping. An addiction to shopping, all right? They have this obsession with power and pleasure. Okay, so I don't know whether you know of anyone like that or if you have these kind of traits, so just be aware of it, okay? And know this, because they're so aggressive, they bully people around them to make them feel less insecure. Okay, to make them feel less insecure. So all that hoo-ha, that grandiosity, everybody look at me, how successful I am, and all that is to help them make themselves feel less insecure. And it's really sad because the insecurity is so intense, they have to do all this to make them feel better. Okay, so that's the 4 major types of narcissism. Now, how do you deal with them? How do you handle them? If you have a choice, and if you sense any person coming into your life, be it at home, be it at work, in your social gathering, it's best not to go any nearer to them. Because why? According to Dr. Ramani, she says that for a narcissist to change, to heal, to become better, the speed is like a glacier. The speed is like a glacier is moving. It's so slow, it's almost insignificant. Okay, and they have this rubber band effect, because you may see a little bit of control. Because why? Narcissists will not be able to fundamentally change for the better. You can put in parameters. Okay, for example, narcissists will always be late. Because why? Because they don't care because they do not have empathy about what you feel for their lateness, because they are grand. They feel a sense of grandiosity. So, yeah. So they come fashionably late. So what you can do is, well, if you can put in the parameter and say, you know what, please come on time. Okay, so they can cooperate superficially to help, to make them look less narcissistic and because of the narcissism, they can become quite, or rather disruptive in the work environment, in relationships. So usually parameters or guidelines are imposed on them so that they can actually improve superficially. But fundamentally, it's not going to shift. Because why? Because outwardly they may look like they are less narcissistic or not at all, because they're faking it by controlling themselves. But as soon as one of these pillars of not getting the validation, and so on and so forth, if they are disrupted in that sense, they get stressed, they get into an emotional turmoil, the rage comes, they will snap back, just like a rubber band. So you can pull it, and all that, and after that they'll snap back, and they'll go back to how they are. All right. So if you do have a choice, it's best to leave them alone. All right, because there are certain people out there whom I know who are narcissist magnets. Magnets for narcissists. Because why? Because they are very forgiving, they're very kind. Okay, and they always think that the person will turn around if you keep forgiving them. For a narcissist, when you forgive them, they take it as an opportunity to stay status quo. They got away with it. That's it. So no matter how much kindness you shower them, no matter how much you do for them, to them, you owe it to them. Because why? Because they feel entitled. So it's a given that you're supposed to treat them nicer. It's a given that you run the extra mile for them. It's a given because they feel entitled. So for those of you who are magnets, and I know some of you out there who are watching tonight, and you always fall into this trap, and you feel so bad because you don't want to be nasty, you don't want to be unkind, but you are not helping them. Neither are you helping yourself, because handling a person with narcissistic traits is very, very difficult for most people. It is very hurtful for you. Because why? Because you will never, ever feel that whatever you do is enough. Because to a narcissistic person, whatever you do, it is never, ever good enough. Never. So you see, so the problem is not you. The problem is them. And if you do not rise to the occasion and realize that, you will be drained. So you'll be extremely drained, and you will be so jaded. Because why? Because everything you do, the person makes you feel that it's never, ever enough. So for those of you who already suffer from low self-esteem, it is very, very dangerous to be near a narcissist. It will make you feel even worse. Even worse. All right? So if you're in such a relationship, if you can get out, please get out. But for certain relationships, like if they're your relatives, your parents, your sibling, your spouse whom you have children with, and you'd really rather not, some of you just cannot get out, or some of you just say, you rather stay in a relationship because it's just too complicated, then, well, you have to manage your expectations. Manage your expectations, go for therapy. Go for therapy for yourself, because the narcissist is not going to go for therapy unless the narcissist's life is jeopardized, is how would I say? If it pinches into their reality. For example, if they go into a divorce, they're going to lose half of the assets, and they're not willing to let that go. Then yeah, they feel the pinch. So they're willing to go for therapy with you to see how to curb their narcissistic behavior. They're not going to change, but they will just see how to appease you so that they will not lose the half of what they own. So again, it's all about themselves. It's all about themselves. And for narcissistic people, they don't really know how to love because they don't have empathy. All right? So they will show you what you need for that moment that is convenient for them. Okay, that is convenient. So they will love you, quote unquote. That definition of love is as and when it's convenient for them. They will never go the extra mile for you. They will never. So if they want to show you a bit of an affection, yeah, they will do it if it's convenient. But otherwise, you gotta wait. That's why people in narcissistic relationships, it's very, very intense and very, very high maintenance because your definition of love is different from their definition of love. Okay? And when you talk to them, how would I say, you will not be able to make sense out of it because their logic is totally different. Just always remember, there's no empathy. So if there's no empathy, how can there be love? All right? And again, if you're stuck in a relationship like this, and you're not going to get any emotional support from narcissists, then it's best for you to surround yourself with friends who are emotionally supportive, family members, people whom you know will give you that type of emotional support that you need, that you're not going to have in your relationship with this person. All right, so you can make up for that from other people. All right, and that's how you can handle them. And always realize this: although the narcissist may be open to seeing a therapist, they're never ever going to change. Okay, this is one thing we have to accept. They're never going to change. But as long as they're willing to, because like I said, because they are not willing to give up something from the split, they will just cooperate superficially. So if that is what you want, I'm not here to judge, but if that is good enough for you, then manage your expectations. Okay? So that's in a nutshell. It is a very interesting topic because why? Because in this age of technology and social media, it is a condition for developing narcissists. Think about it. Every time you put up a picture of yourself, and the number of likes you get, you're actually conditioning yourself to get validation from others, whether or not you are conscious of it or not. Okay, you're actually doing that, and that is why nowadays, well, as I'm talking right now, social media platforms are being questioned by the government. Like Facebook is being questioned right now by the U.S. government, whether or not they even want children to be on Facebook. Because why? Because it is creating a form of addiction for children to always post something on social media and get validation from others. And because of that, there's a culture of comparing your physical looks with others. And because of that, there's an increase of depression amongst children, and some become suicidal because of that, or bulimic or anorexic because of that. So it is a social issue right now, and people are rising above the occasion and seeing how we can do that. So for those of you who have this addiction or this habit of taking pictures of yourself, be mindful, because no matter what you say, be brutally honest with yourself, brutally honest. Because I have spoken to some people online, and I noticed that there's so many things that you post, but you always post yourself. So whatever your reasons are, people around you, the younger generation around you, when they see you posting this, it makes it okay for them to do the same. Okay, because why? Monkey see, monkey do. So if an adult can do it, why not me? And you have to be very careful, because why? Because if that is your conditioning for the younger generation, you're actually conditioning them to always seek for validation outside. Always. So that's why we have to be extremely mindful about social media, because this is a current phenomenon right now. And a lot of these clinical psychologists are saying that, social media platform is really not healthy for everyone, for all ages, for the matter of fact. All right, so I think I have gone beyond my half an hour today, because it's a huge topic, and there's so much to cover. So after this, I will be having maybe we'll take a 2-minute break for everyone to take a toilet break, and then join the workshop that I'm going to be having, which I have after the talk that I give on Facebook. Okay, and you can email to bemindful@kechara.com, and you can join me on Google Meet, and that's where I go in deeper and work with you on what I've spoken about. And if you like today's program, please invite your friends. Please share on Facebook with your friends and family members who are on Facebook, because you never know who's going to benefit from watching these talks that we have here. All right, so I would like to acknowledge today's sponsors for our program. Well, with your sponsorship, we are able to pay some of our bills to sustain our online programs for all of you. All right, so if you'd like to sponsor, there is a link there. After this program, there's a link, and you can click on it, and you can make a contribution. All right, so today's sponsors, Lam Kok Wen and family, dedication, may His Eminence Kebje Tamrimuche return to KFR swiftly to turn the Dharma wheel again. The second sponsor is Anonymous, dedication, dedicated towards all beings' liberation from suffering and attainment of compassion, wisdom, and true happiness. That sponsors Chong Siu Kin, dedication, may all sentient beings be free from suffering and discord. May we all be reborn in the Pure Land. And the last sponsor is Julie Koo, dedication, wish everyone stays healthy and safe. On that note, thank you very much for tuning in today, and I will see you guys next Saturday. Take care. Bye-bye.